welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I am Z. I am a 25-year-old tattoo artist and also like a lover of interior decor and home decor and all of that jazz. That's like my guilty pleasure. So if you've been following along, then you kind of know that I've been hinting about moving, and well, surprise, we bought an apartment. My partner and I just bought an apartment in New York City, in Brooklyn to be particular. This is huge for us. It's our first time buying an apartment, and it's definitely the biggest purchase of my entire life. My boyfriend and I have been living in different countries over the last 8 years, so it's really so significant that we finally found a place that we want to stay for a good little while. And you know, even up until recently, we weren't 100% sure on where we wanted to be. We were considering California for a while because that's where my family is, and we even did a couple house viewings, but nothing felt right, and specifically the environment didn't feel right. And New York has been such a source of inspiration for us. We couldn't really see ourselves anywhere else in the near future, and so we started looking around at different places for funsies, and that was when we saw the one. We decided to take the next step and buy an apartment. I never saw myself being able to do that, and so I just wanted to walk y'all through the process a little bit of, you know, what we were looking for. Before I get into showing y'all a couple of the apartments we viewed, I wanted to also line up our wants and needs in terms of what we were looking for in our apartment. In terms of our needs, we were looking for 1, a 2-bedroom apartment that had space for an office and a bedroom. 2, a functional kitchen because we love cooking. 3, more than 800 square feet to fit our lifestyle, and I'll kind of get into that in the next point, which is 4, I wanted to be able to fit my studio inside of it. And then 5, I did not want to have a basement because I didn't want to deal with flooding. As many people know, New York is kind of like a flooding nightmare, especially when there are hurricanes. And 6, I wanted the apartment to be easily accessible to the subway because my boyfriend takes the subway to work. And also, I didn't want to like coop myself at home. I still wanted to be confident enough that I could get into the city if I wanted to see my friends. So, you know, having accessible subway systems is crucial. And then in terms of our wants, we wanted a gas stove, and this kind of ties into us really loving kind of like cooking together and being in the kitchen together. And if you didn't know, New York recently passed a law that any new builds going forward will only be able to have electric stoves. And then 2, we wanted to have an outdoor space with a backyard, a balcony, or a rooftop, a guest bathroom, an entryway area. And that's because I really don't like having dirty shoes in my kitchen and in my living room. We ideally would have loved to have big windows, specifically ones facing south. Obviously, I could go on and on about the things that we want, but that's kind of the general gist of it. So let's take a look at some apartments. Alrighty, so I have them queued up on my laptop. Let's go through them. The first one is called The Catfish. So every New York apartment definitely has listings where the photos make this place look so grandeur, make it look like it's really well taken care of, make the space look absolutely expansive, but in reality, sometimes that's really not the case, and that was the case with this first apartment. This one we were so enthralled by the online photos on Street Easy. It was a duplex, and I've always fantasized about having that kind of like loft living lifestyle. I think that is like so sexy. But when we entered the apartment, it was very clear that this place wasn't really well taken care of. There was also a construction site right next door, and they weren't sure when it was going to finish. And with construction sites, it's often something that I'm quite wary about because you never know if they're going to start building things that block your light or your view. So this place was so much smaller than the photos, and with the staircase, it needed to be replaced. The refrigerator had a huge dent in it, so that was kind of like something that we ideally would have wanted to replace as well. And it was also advertised to have a balcony, which, you know, is something that we were looking for. And when we opened the balcony door, it literally only had less than 6 inches of foot space, so it was more of like a faux balcony moment where you can kind of stick your head out, but you can't actually step out and enjoy some fresh air. It's just kind of like a nice window with a barrier. Needless to say, I didn't really feel like this place warranted the price point. It definitely didn't match the comps, and our agent was also really hesitant about it as well. And I think when you have an agent that's kind of viewed so many places throughout their career and they tell you like this isn't really worth it, I would listen to them, so we decided to pass on the catfish. Number 2 is an apartment that I call the packaged new build. So there are so many new builds going around in different areas of Brooklyn and New York all the time. This was a completely new build apartment that was still being finished as we did the viewing. This apartment itself was in more of a narrow formation. It had a really slim living room with a really skinny hallway that led into 2 apartments that were also really slim. So overall, very slim apartment. And it definitely got a lot of beautiful light because it had light coming in from the front and it also had light coming in from the back. So you kind of enjoyed light throughout all your living spaces, which was really nice. I think where we were a little bit hesitant was the fact that it was a new build. So a lot of the agents would warn us about new builds because there is kind of this trial and error period when you start living there and you realize, oh, like the water pressure is not good, the sink is not good, you need to replace XYZ. And when I looked at the floorboards at this particular apartment, I noticed that a lot of them were really misaligned and had huge gaps in them. And that to me just made me start to think, if the floorboards aren't done well and they seem to be done in a rush, then what does that tell me about the rest of the apartment? So I decided to kind of pass on this one as well. Number 3 is the Dream Pad. So this was the one that was my personal favorite in terms of the photos on Street Easy. Like this one captured my heart and I was dying to go see it. It was a little bit higher on the price point and you know, it also had the highest HOA rates and also the highest taxes out of everything that we saw. But at the same time, it was also in a much cuter area with a lot of restaurants around it. And truly, this place had huge windows, so beautiful, very like ideal New York living. And it had huge rooms, like the bedroom was the size of a living room and the living room was like really large with the big windows. And the only thing that I felt like wasn't very ideal in the apartment was that the kitchen was quite slim and very narrow. So the configuration of it really felt like it was only conducive to having one person in there at a time. And my partner and I have lived in a couple apartments like that, and we just love cooking together so much that it didn't feel ideal. And the other thing was that it had, really nasty hallways. Now, you know, I said that the HOA was really high, so that's kind of what you're paying for the common areas as well. And it just felt like the common areas were not really well taken care of. The carpet in the hallway was very clearly not cleaned and hadn't been cleaned for a really long time, so it had soaked up a lot of scents. So things like that we definitely wanted to take into consideration because HOA fees really just keep going up higher and higher over time. And then we have number 4, which is the Sunny Space. This was my partner's favorite apartment out of all of them, and it hit like 99% of all of our requirements. It had a really great layout, it had southern facing windows, and it had great light everywhere. 2 floors, so it was a duplex, but it wasn't a basement, so that was super ideal as well. And it had a medium-sized rooftop, so you had your outdoor space, and the kitchen was really beautiful. So overall, this apartment would have been a really great investment. It was also really close to the subway station, so that was a plus as well. The only gripe that we had with this apartment was that the layout was not very great for our type of lifestyle, and this apartment was definitely higher up on our price range, and so financially it definitely didn't allow me to have my own studio space outside of the apartment, couldn't have one inside the apartment. So at the end of the day, we had to decide that this apartment would have been a wonderful investment, but we were looking to buy a house for us, and so it wouldn't fit our lifestyle, so we had to pass on it. Number 5, which I will call the one because this is the one that we bought, and this is an apartment that just hit the majority of our wants and needs, and it sparked a lot of joy for us, which I think was super important because at the end of the day, it's the way the space makes you feel when you enter it, and this one just felt so right. So let me go through what we loved about it so much. First off, when you go into the apartment, it has a hallway, so it has an entryway area where we can put shoes and we can kind of leave that stuff in there. It also has a guest bathroom, and then the hallway kind of leads into this super open design kitchen living room area, and this is so ideal because it has windows at the end of it, so it brings a lot of nice light into the apartment. Really, one downside is that they are north facing windows, so it is a little bit more dim. Having big windows was a huge plus to us overall, and we can always put lamps here and there for the more ambient look anyway. And so this open layout living room was beautiful and worked really well for me to be able to have a studio space in the living room, and we're going to install some curtains to kind of block off the space. As you can see from the videos, the previous owners were creative, so they decorated this place really nicely, and it was nice to see this place so well decorated because it just kind of helped to show us the potential of this space. And I mean, truly it worked. And it has 2 bedrooms, one of which is a lot smaller, but my partner and I both like to sleep in a bedroom that is a bit dimmer and darker. We don't really like sleeping in front of windows, so this is a smaller bedroom with a skylight. And then there is the office, which is the 2nd bedroom, and that one has a big window, and it just worked perfectly for the space that we need in order to have both of our desks inside. And oh my god, the cherry on top, that it has the most beautiful outdoor space. We walked up there and we were just like, you know, like flabbergasted. This rooftop has a heated and AC'd dome, and this just reminds me of all those little domes that you see on the edge of the Thames in London, where you can eat dinner and you can hang out in them. And so it was crazy to think that we could have a private little dome for us to look at the stars, watch the snow, hang out there during the summer, play some games in there. So that was really, really awesome. And it also has a sauna, which is crazy because like I never thought I would have a sauna at my own place. And both of these things the previous owners installed themselves, and they decided to leave it there. And so it was like a really, really nice cherry on top, and it was very clear that this place was loved and well taken care of. And you know, one of the pros to having an apartment that someone else has already lived in before is that, you know, they've kind of worked through all the kinks, they've replaced all the electricals that aren't working, and they kept this place immaculate. So really, really happy about that. Yeah, that's our official apartment reveal, and I'm super excited to share with y'all the kind of decorating process because that's what I'm really excited about, and I've already filmed so much of that process. I just need to edit it and put it together, so that is for the future. And I just wanted to say that we also viewed quite a few places that weren't included in this video as well, but the ones that I've shown you are the ones that aligned with what we were looking for the most. And if I had any takeaways throughout this process, I would say that 1, definitely find a real estate agent that you really love and someone that you can trust, because at the end of the day you want someone there batting for you, someone that really wants to take care of you and your future home. When we were in LA, we did some house viewings, and our real estate agent was so great. She told us every single time that there were like termites and signs of things that needed to be replaced. And so someone like that who's really on your side and making sure that you're getting the best for what you can afford is everything that you need throughout this process. It's going to make your life so much easier. And then number 2 is to view as many places as you can that align with what you're looking for, because truly, like, you never know what you're gonna see. Like I said, the photos on the websites don't always accurately depict what you're gonna get in real life. And this place that we ended up purchasing wasn't really even on our radar in the beginning. I looked at the photos and I was like, yeah, that looks nice, but it doesn't look like what we need. And then we did the viewing, we came out of our way to come here, and it was everything that we needed. So definitely take your time with looking and look at everything that you need to see, and then make your decision after that. And if nothing feels right, then I would say probably wait. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the cheeky little apartments that we went to see before we purchased the one. I would love to know which one was your favorite. Again, leave a comment and subscribe and follow along for more. I'm gonna be spending so much time decorating this place, and I'm so excited to show y'all how it turns out. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.